Good morning. Today we are moving on with our graphs to another new type of graph. CO63 is I can interpret and create box and whisker plots. It's different sounding, it's different looking, but we do need to understand and be able to interpret this. So a box and whisker plot, oops, first I need to pass out my notes pages. Okay, the box and whisker plot. So these are great. Gotta get through my maze of tables here. These are great for showing the range and median of our data. Remember, each of these different graphs we use for different reasons. So we need to remember box and whisker we use when we want to know the range and the median. A box and whisker plot divides a data set into 4 parts. And we're going to have different vocabulary words that we're going to learn about, but it uses the lower extreme lower quartile, the median, the upper extreme, and the upper quartile. So upper quartile and upper extreme. And that's how we divide up our data into those 4 parts. So those are dividing lines that we're going to learn about it. We're going to learn what that vocab means so we can divide our box and whisker graph into 4 parts. So we have the lower extreme, the lower quartile, the median, and we know what median means, that's the middle, then the upper quartile and upper extreme. So the lower ones are going to be our lower numbers. The upper ones are the upper numbers. Median is right in the middle of the numbers. So here's an example of a box and whisker plot showing the scores of a math test. So we can see scores of the test. You got a 70% up to the 94%. We're going to see what all of these different points mean using our new vocab words. Okay. So the lower extreme is going to be the one that is over to the left. This is our minimum score. This point right here is our minimum score. It is the point farthest to the left. Okay, so that's the minimum. We need to know nobody scored less than that. That is the first data point that we start with. So what is our minimum score? Sophie? So 70 would be over here. 74 would be right here. It's in between 70 and 74. What number is directly in between, Sophie? 72 would be in between. We are skip counting by 2s. So 72 is the lowest score somebody got on this test. Going off of that, where do you think our maximum score would be? Adeline? On the other side, what number would this be?
88.
Yeah, Yeah, so we have an 86 here, that's too low. Our 90 is here, that's too high. This is at the one right in the middle, so it would be 88. So now our lower extreme is over here, the lowest numbers. That's the extreme. So this is the lower extreme. So it makes sense that over here is the upper extreme. Where do you think our median is? Emma?
The line on the box, in the box would be that
So that line that's in the middle of the box is our median, because it's the middle of the box. What number would that come down to? Lila?
80.
So skip counting by twos on that big line. 80 would be on the line here. And we have 78 on the line here, so where would that median fall? 79. Okay, sometimes we have to do a lot of interpreting with those numbers, thinking about what each line stands for, and if it's in between lines, what does that stand for? So that median would be 79. So now we have two more words to talk about, that lower quartile and the upper quartile. James?
Would it be like the end of the rectangle?
Yeah, it's the end of the box. So if I have 1 point here and 1 point here, which one do you think is the lower? Using just our logic, where would the lower quartile be? On the left, by the lower extreme, the lowest number. So this one is our lower quartile. And that lower quartile would go to what number? Adeline?
75.
75. So then this side of the box is the upper quartile. What number is our upper quartile, Aiden? 85. It's important that we figure out all of where these dividing lines are, because how many parts did I say we break our box and whisker plot into? Look at our definition. How many parts are we breaking it into? Lila? 4 parts, right? So box and whisker plots are broken into 4 parts. So we have part number 1 is right here, that lowest part, so that lowest extreme. Part number 2 goes from that lower quartile to median. Then part number 3 is that up to the upper quartile, and part number 4 is that upper extreme. So we have 4 parts. They look different sizes because that's how spread out the data points are. But there's the same number of scores, the same number of data points in each section. Okay, so there's equal data points in each section. Even though they don't look equal, like if we were to break our box into 4 equal parts, it looks equal. On the box and whisker plot, it doesn't look equal because we might have 5 points in the lower extreme and they're all at 72. Or we have 4 at 72 and 1 way up here at 74. Then our lower quartile They might be more spread out, because see, it's squished together here. It's more spread out here, so we would have a 75, a 77, a 77, a 78, and a 79. It's more spread out, but it's the same number of scores in each part. They don't look even because the scores might be spread, okay? So, we know that, let's see, we know that we have our lowest score and our highest score. So all of the scores on the test range in between those two scores. So when we talk about the interquartile range, we're not talking all of the scores, we're talking, sorry. I am confusing myself looking at this. Interquartile range is just the box. So we have the lower quartile to the upper quartile. So that was 75 to 85. That's our range for our box, right? The lower quartile to that upper quartile. So that range would be what? How do we find the range of numbers, James?
85 minus 75?
Yeah, 85 minus the 75, which would be what, James?
10.
So now we want the range of all the scores. So if it's the interquartile range, it's just the range in the box. The range of all the scores would be from the upper extreme down to the lower extreme. So what would that range be? Adeline?
7 to 85,
Our minimum score to our maximum score. 72 to the 88. So the interquartile range is the lower to the upper quartiles. Our range of scores is our minimum score to our maximum score. What is 88 minus 72, Sophie? 88 minus 72. You always take the big number and you subtract. We don't work with negatives when we talk about the range. So 16. So take the big number and you subtract the small number to find that range. All right, so now we know 28 students took the test. So now we have to figure out how to interpret that box and whisker. Knowing what we know, that we have our 4 parts, and each part is broken up with the even number of scores in each part. There are 28 parts. We know our median is the middle of those 28. Who can tell me how many scores are below the median? James?
5.
If there are 28 scores and our median is the middle, how many scores would be below the median?
14.
How did you get 14, James?
Because median is in the middle.
So what did you have to do to that 28 scores?
I divided 28 by 2.
Yeah. So there are 14 scores from the median to that lower extreme. There are 14 scores from the median to the upper extreme. See how we did that? That median is the middle. If you know how many scores are, you divide it by 2. Now can we figure out how many scores are in each of those 4 parts? Lila? So if we have 14 for that lower half, that lower quartile is the halfway point of that lower half. Adeline?
35.
We have 14, and we have 2 parts of that 14. Maddie? 7. Because we take that 14 and we divide that by 2. So there were 7 scores down here, 7 scores here, 7 scores here, and 7 scores here. You take that 28 and you're dividing it up by 4. Right? 4 equal parts. They don't look equal, but the scores, there's the same number of scores in each part. Even though some might be a little spread out, and some might be squished together on where their scores fell. There were 7 scores, 7 scores, 7 scores, and 7 scores. So when you get to that box and whisker plot, you find that median, you find where those 4 parts are. If you know how many scores altogether, you fill in those numbers. There are 7, 7, 7, and 7. We're going to go over this some more because this is a new concept. We're just going over the vocab, and we're going to go to the next one and see if we can figure it out. Okay? So if it's not clicking immediate, it's okay. It's a new type of graph. How many scored between 79? So here's 79 and 85. We already filled in our numbers. How many kids scored between 79 and 85? How many scored in that range? Emma? 7. How many scored between 85 and 88? Sarah? 7. Okay, again, it's okay if you're looking at this going, whoa, I'm writing down on my paper the numbers you're putting on the board, but I'm really not sure how we got that. We're gonna go through the next one together, okay? Just be open to it, it's gonna start clicking. So let's scroll up and see if we can figure out those different 4 sections to figure it out. So, this one is a new one. This is the scores, points scored in several basketball games. Okay, so we have the same questions. So think about where we marked the vocab words on that box and whisker plot. Where would the minimum number be? What is our minimum that was scored at a basketball game? Maddie? 15. That's the minimum, is the smallest number. That smallest point. So what would be our maximum number? Sophie? 30. Maximum is the biggest number. So all of our scores are going to be between 15 and 30. Where is our lower quartile? Bennett?
Where the second bar is on the left.
Yeah, it's at that end side of our box. So now we need to figure out what score that would be. This is 15 and this is 20. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ooh, looks like they didn't write it. It goes 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So each line jumps up by 1. If our lower quartile falls in between 17 and 18, what score would that be? Sarah? 17.5. What's our median? Kylie? Say it louder. 21. That median, remember, is the middle line of our box. We know we're counting by ones, so we had 20, 21 is our median. What is our upper quartile, Nolan? That upper quartile is the other end of our box, which lands at 27.5. So see how we're reading that box and whisker, finding from all the way to the left with our minimum, working our way all the way to that maximum, knowing what each part of that box and whisker plot means. Now we can look at our ranges. What would the interquartile range be? Lila,
10.
how did you get 10, Lila?
I subtracted 27.5 from 7.
Yeah, you take the upper quartile and you subtract out the lower quartile. So that's the interquartile range. That's the box. What is the range of all of our scores? Sarah? Yeah, we take that maximum of 30 and we subtract the minimum of 15. So it would be what? 15. 30 minus the 15. Are you with me now? Okay. Now comes the filling in the numbers. We played 48 games. So now we need to remember 48 games. What would our median, if I do, remember if I go like this, how many are on the lower half, how many are on the upper half if there are 48 games? Lila?
24, 24.
Yeah, 24 and 24. That 48 divided by 2, half of them are below, half of them are above the median. So 24 are below, 24 are above. Now let's break it up into our 4 parts. Oops, this should go all the way to here. Let's break it up into our 4 parts. How many in each part? These are 4 equal parts. Adeline.
6.
If I have 6, plus 6 is 12, 18, 24. So that 24 divided by 4 gives me 6 equal parts. 12 on the lower half, 12 on the upper half. Does that work? It doesn't. 6 plus 6 plus 6 plus 6 is 24, but they're supposed to be 48. What did you do wrong, Adeline? We divided that 24 by 4 instead of the 48 by 4. So we still have those same 4 parts. Divide that 24 into 2 parts, or you divide the total of 48 into the 4 parts. What should it be?
12.
12. Because 12 plus 12 equals that 24. 12 plus 12 equals the 24. 24 plus 24 equals the 48. So half are on the bottom, 24 are on the bottom, and I broke that 24 into 2 parts, 12 and 12. Same thing on the upper side. So I have 4 equal parts. Once I know that, I can answer the questions. How many games had between 15 and 21 points? So 15 and 21. Looking at the numbers that I filled in, how many games had between 15 and 21? Would I go with the 12s or would I go with the 24s? Would I go with the 48s? Those are our choices. How many games had scores between here and here? Liam? 6. So I have 12, 12, 24 are my choices. which one of these numbers goes from 15 to 21, Liam? 12, 12, or 24?
Well,
Look at this 24, Liam. It goes from the 15 all the way to the 21.
oh,
So it would be that 24 range, right? From here to here is 12 plus 12 is my 24. Do you see how we got that? So now how many games were between 27 and 30? Kylie? 12. Because 27 is from here to here, to 30 is here. There are 12 games that had scores in that range. So this is why it's important that we break it up into our 4 parts, figure out how many scores are in each of those 4 parts, so then when it tells us what range to look at, we can see what our numbers are. Oh, and we are going to do our work time when we come back from specialists. Okay, so I explained the front page. We're gonna work on that back page when we come back from specialists. If you are watching at home, I hope you are well. I hope you have a wonderful day.